YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. This is an important video because while the government is leading you down government-created rabbit holes, there's always bigger stories behind the big story that's in everybody's face. And of course, the big story that everybody continues to talk about is the story of Jeffrey Epstein and what are in these files that the government supposedly has a hold of, that they've continued to tease you about for years and years, and the people continue to want answers, and the government's finally going to give you those answers, and for whatever reason, people believe what the government's going to tell them is the truth. That's the craziest part about it. Is Jeffrey Epstein a pedophile? No doubt about it. Was Jeffrey Epstein into eugenics? No doubt about it. Is Jeffrey Epstein buddies with all people in politics, all people in Hollywood? Were they all practicing the process of eugenics and transhumanism and breeding children? This is what Satanists and covens do. And the answer to that is yes, he was. But if you believe for 1 second what the government is going to tell you in regards to Jeffrey Epstein is true, then I guess you just pick and choose what you believe according to what you want to believe, because the government will never give you actual data and actual information. So now the big story out there is that they've signed a bill that's going to give information about Jeffrey Epstein. And let me guess, there's going to be Democrats and Republicans, very prominent names that have email exchanges with Jeffrey Epstein and meeting at his Zorro Ranch or on Epstein Island. Meanwhile, when nobody's paying attention to, that's right out in the open that nobody seems to understand, is what Donald Trump is doing in regards to AI regulation. And that's the most important thing. Why is it the most important thing? Because the New World Order is built on AI governance. It is an enslavement system run through artificial intelligence. And while they continue to divide people via the left and the right, eventually people will become sick of the left and the right when they find out that people on the supposed list are people in their party who they support. And suddenly they might say, we can't trust any of these people. Maybe we need to go with artificial intelligence and technology. And then they'll be right where all of these people wanted them to be from the get-go, which is, again, problem, reaction, solution, which is the bringing in of AI governance. So again, I am not trying to discredit the fact that Jeffrey Epstein's a pedophile. What I'm saying is that what they're going to tell you is stuff that they want to tell you. They want to distract you, and they want you to be all fired up about the names that you hear, because there's going to be names of people that you cannot stand, and they expect Republicans to ignore the names of the Republicans on the list and point fingers at the Democrats on the list and vice versa. And this will help bring in the destruction of the infrastructure, which is what this is all about. Donald Trump, over the last 48 hours and since day one in being in Congress, has been bringing in AI governance, which is what the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, and all of these New World Order organizations, these globalist organizations, have wanted from the get-go. This is what Trump is tweeting out. And if you listen to the stuff in between the lines, you can see how he's playing into stuff with woke AI and we better get a grip on AI before the Democrats get their hand on AI and train the AI to be woke. He's clearing the barriers for AI infrastructure. These are his two quotes. Let me read it to you. Investment in AI is helping to make the U.S. economy the hottest in the world, but over-regulation by the states is threatening to undermine this growth engine. Some states are even trying to embed DEI ideology into AI models, producing woke AI. Remember Black George Washington? We must have one federal standard instead of a patchwork of 50 state regulatory regimes. We can do this in a way that protects children and prevents censorship. He tweeted about this multiple times. How the United States of America needs federal regulation, not state-run. Why? Because what we're seeing is finally a pushback against these data centers that Trump is funding with people like Larry Ellison of Oracle and Sam Altman and Bill Gates and all of these demonic people in Silicon Valley who are doing the bidding of DARPA. They are building out these data centers. If you don't understand what the data centers are, I've broken it down many times. These data centers are to save, record, and have on record every single thing that is ever done on the computer and every single thing that is ever recorded with a camera. Whether it's a camera that you hold in your hand and you're filming something at the beach, it's going into the data center. Or if it's a camera inside of Walmart that's filming the same location, the same spot without moving for 24 hours, it's going into the data center. It is the surveillance state. That's what these data centers are being built out for. And that's why on day one, Trump passed a bill for billions of dollars, $500 billion to be exact, to go into building out these data centers. And right now what's happening is that people on the left and the right are actually pushing back against both digital IDs and these data centers. So what Trump wants to do is take away the power at the state level, because what's happening is these data centers are rolling into states, specific states, all states. Okay, so let's use one for example. It's rolling into Alabama. And what's happening in Alabama? Well, in Alabama, people are pushing back because their electricity bills are going up and they're hearing about how much water is going to be used for these data centers. And they're saying to themselves, well, you know what? We have droughts sometimes. There's droughts here. We don't need to be giving 500,000 gallons a day to these AI data centers when we don't know what they're actually doing. So the pushback is causing Donald Trump and all of his buddies in big tech to come out and say, let's get this off of the state level. We don't need state legislature where it's left or right to have disagreements with data centers, because the entire New World Order has to run on these data centers. So this can't be a left-right issue. Everything else can be. Everything from, can gays get married? Should people be allowed to murder their babies and have abortions? Those are issues they want on a state level because they want to divide you into specific red and blue states. But the whole infrastructure is going to be run on AI. Does that make sense? So all the times that I've talked about how there's going to be red states and blue states, and they're going to appeal to you, right? Some states won't mandate vaccines, especially when they do more fake outbreaks. And nobody will want to go through that again. And they'll say, look, come down to Florida. You don't have to get vaccinated. In fact, you don't have to vaccinate your kids down here. And then in states like New York will say, you have to vaccinate your kids the day they're born, or the state will take custody of your children. People say, I'm getting out of New York. And suddenly they're hurting people based on their ideologies. And we have blue and red states. Come to this state if you want an abortion. If you go to this state, you're not allowed to get an abortion. People will say, well, there's no women's rights there, even though the right to murder a baby is not a woman's right. And so, it's an insane notion. But nonetheless, people are in such a psychosis, they think that. So they'll leave the red state to go to the blue state because they'll feel like they have more freedoms in those states. But that's all being done by design by your government. The infrastructure itself is going to be run on artificial intelligence. So they cannot have this be a state debate. They cannot have states that are red or blue pushing back against the data centers because it's the infrastructure. So they need all the states to have this in place, and that no states can push back against it. That all these states have to have these data centers. You can't go and meet and complain to the city council. You can't go and meet with your state governors and your state mayor, whoever it is. You can't go and protest. You're not allowed to do any of it because the federal government is saying, look, this is the new infrastructure. It's run through AI. You can complain all you want, but you can't go you can't go vote on it if you want it in your town or not. You can't go vote on it if you want it in your state or not. It's coming regardless. And what we're seeing, again, is one of the common themes, which there aren't many between the left and right, is that there's pushback on this. Whether it's people are sick of the electricity bills that they're starting to see go up, whether it's people who are environmentalists who are concerned about water and about how much electricity is going to be used and how we're going to be the ones who ration electricity, because both the left and right are starting to see, hey, these things need a lot of electricity. So one side saying it's bad for the environment, the other side saying, the conservatives, hey, what's bad about this is that they might make us ration electricity and bring in carbon laws, right? So it's a common, rare occurrence that we're seeing right now where both sides of the aisle are actually pushing back against big tech and AI infrastructure. So Donald Trump is coming out and saying, we need now to take away any restrictions. I covered this in the past. Donald Trump has already tried to put things in place that prevent any pushback for AI governance. In Donald Trump's one big, beautiful bill, which was approved on May 22nd, 2025, they had imposed a 10-year federal moratorium on states enforcing any laws or regulations which limit, restrict, or otherwise regulate AI model systems, or automated decision-making tools in interstate commerce. But what is not in that bill is the state's ability to block these data center build-outs. So what we're starting to see are states getting pushback from citizens who do not want these data centers built in their communities. They don't want these giant factories built. They're hearing all this stuff about electricity. They're hearing all this stuff about water and how much water locally is going to be used to cool down these data centers. So Donald Trump, again, is calling on Congress now to do something about it. And he's urging Congress to pass a bill which would make it impossible for states to block these data centers from being built out. And the tweets that Trump is putting out just plays into how dumbed down our society is, because all he has to do is put stuff like DEI ideology or woke AI or stuff about immigration, and it gets his entire fan base, who are under full-on mind control, to support whatever he says. Because they have heard for 4 years with Biden all this ridiculous crap about DEI and how they're hiring people based on their skin color, not on their ability to do these jobs or to fulfill these roles in office, or in, whether it's a pilot on a plane, they're hiring because they're black, not because they're a good pilot. And it drove everybody insane. So Trump's playing off of that to tell people, look, we're going to have states that are going to pass, Democrat AI. And we're going to have states that are, if you're a conservative and you're living in New York, guess what? They're going to pass these bills, and then they're going to be teaching AI to distribute all of this DEI propaganda to your kids in school, on the computers, everywhere. And it makes people panic. They go, we got to stop that. We don't want to state level. We want it on a federal level. And that helps them continue to build out the AI infrastructure. So this is a big thing. Watching Donald Trump in front of our face talk about AI governance and AI infrastructure, and then just tell you, well, it's helping the economy, right? It's helping the economy while the prices of everything else are going up. So it really is only helping the investors and the hedge funds who are invested in, big brother stocks like Palantir or NVIDIA or Nibius or CoreWeave, all of these neo clouds that are going to enslave us and build this grid, right? It's helping them out and the economy from that standpoint, but the rest of America is still trying to buy groceries and they're still paying double the price, right? But ignore those types of things, and you just hear, oh, it's helping the U.S. economy. Oh, so Trump's helping the economy grow with AI. Oh, the economy's never been higher. Yeah, just because the market number is high doesn't mean that people are, are being, making more money or having prosperity in their lives. Of course, it's not happening around us. We all see it. Everybody's struggling every day because of what they're doing with the inflation and whatnot, and then ignoring it. So while they're distracting you with Jeffrey Epstein, which they're going to continue to do, right? They're going to continue to flash this in front of you. And again, I'm not saying that any of that stuff isn't true. I was one of the first channels when 10 years ago, I started my channel based on exposing satanic ritual abuse and child sex trafficking and how it was the biggest business in the world. Okay, I talked about it then. I had a big channel. Even when I started, a lot of people subscribe. I always am fighting for the children. I'm always fighting to expose Satanism. But when the government's feeding you the information, when the government's coming out and saying, look, so-and-so is on a list, we're going to give it to you. Do you think you could trust the FBI and the CIA to give you actual information? Or do you think that the government, which is what they're built on, is using these lists and this information to wage mind control against you, which is what they're doing? So they're distracting you. And they're playing on your emotions because they know that the majority of good human beings want to see pedophiles locked up. So everybody's paying attention to it, but they're not asking themselves, wait a minute, can we trust the information the government's giving us? Just because they're telling us they have documents sealed, what does that mean? What does that mean? They wrote it themselves, likely. Does it mean that these people that they're going to tell us aren't involved? No, of course it doesn't, because we know that all of these people are involved. We know that the entire Congress is built off of Freemasonry and secret societies who network and do these things. Right? But they want to give you this information to keep you distracted from the other stuff that they're doing, which is building out the New World Order infrastructure. So if they pass something that prevents states from even blocking data center buildouts, which means that you can't go to your city council and they can't do anything if they're going to build a massive data center in the middle of your town or right outside of your town, which is going to, you're going to take a lot of your resources away. It's going to prevent anybody, whether they're Democrat or Republican, from fighting against this. And they don't want unity on any front. And they especially don't want unity when it comes to people figuring out what this data center build out is really about, which is you. because everything in this data center is about you. It's not about, hey, we're going to have this data center, all these data centers, information on China and on Japan and Russia. And, we have to have the best computers so we can fight them in warfare. It's for you. They're building out our enslavement grid with these data centers. And every single thing you write online, everything you text on your phone is going into these data centers. And every single camera, whether it's a camera at CVS or a camera on a street corner or a camera on your front door or a camera on your car, is going into these data centers. So it's a full-on surveillance grid and a full-on surveillance state that they're building out. And they just don't want you to know it. And they know that people are going to figure this out. But they want to make sure when they do that it's too late, that the states hadn't had a chance to prevent it, which they won't anyway, and that the federal government has control over it and you don't. And when people figure it out, it will be too late. And that's why they're going to continue to distract you with stories like Jeffrey Epstein and the client list and the flight log, which is why they point to Epstein Island and you rarely hear anybody talk about the Zorro Ranch and what was really underground, like I exposed in my Epstein video that I did a couple of weeks ago and have talked about over the last couple of years, right? They feed you these things. They give you fake information based off of truths. Everybody knows Epstein's a pedophile, but the stuff that they're going to give you, lists and information and emails, you know how easily they could fake all this stuff? It's amazing how people believe it. They show an email. You know how easy it is to fake an email with AI these days? You can do it yourself in some of these AI platforms. Fake an email so it shows that it was an email sent from, your best friend to somebody else, and you can frame them or set them up. I mean, it's really pretty simple to do. And all these people need to do is just see it. And because they're so deep into the psychosis and they're so deep into the psyop that they will refuse to actually question whether or not what they're getting fed is real. But it's not real. Why do we know it's not real? Because when has the government ever given us actual truth? The answer, never. Look no further than your history books, the fake history they've taught us about Earth, about science, about world wars, all of it. They're all lies. Our whole lives are based off of lies that they've fed us. So why would we think that any government information, any government documents are truth that they're giving us on this guy? It's a distraction while they're building out AI governance infrastructure. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.